So, Savage Crucible reached out to me and said, thanks for being our first interview. We love your channel. Can we send you something? I said, sure. That's what they sent. Let's take a look.
Hey kid, yeah, you. Everyone thinks toys are fun, but this is a channel for adults. Yeah, I said it. This is a channel for adults. If you're under the age of 18, go get your parents before you come in here. If you're under the age of 13, scram.
Now again, full disclosure, this was free. I have not backed their Kickstarter. They're not sponsoring this video. This is not an advertisement. They sent me a message and said, hey, we like your channel. We appreciate you being our first interview. We want to send you something to say thanks. Please do not feel obligated to make any content or social media posts of any kind about this. We would love hearing back from you about what you thought. And so I opened it the second night that I had it, looked at it and said, I got to talk about this because they make great stuff. When I did that interview 2 years ago, I hadn't heard of them. I really didn't know who I was dealing with. And Rob impressed at every front. I knew they were going to have a really hard time meeting their deadlines. And they did. You know, the skepticism that I had about them meeting their deadline rang true. Now, does that affect the overall feeling of what I think people got that backed this? No. I think they're getting a great product at a decent price for what it is. And it's going to be a big competitor in the fantasy market, I think. People that like Mythic Legions and that kind of higher-end toy are going to love this as an alternative or as a mix-and-matcher. Anyone who collects 1/12 is probably going to dig this on some level, and there's a lot of cool mix-and-match opportunities with this stuff. So I want to be clear that I've always loved the idea. I've always wanted to see them succeed. It looks like that's definitely happening right now. I'm going to show you why I love this. It's going to have a really nice display in my home because it's commemorative of a memory for me, like so many things are, but also why I'm probably not all in on this toy line regardless. So great thing that isn't necessarily made for me, but is made really well. So let's get to it. First of all, it came in this wonderful branded box. Aesthetically, I absolutely adore this. On a more personal note, I don't like it when branded boxes show up at my front door. Granted, I have a mailbox service that I use for all kinds of packages that are more valuable, or I'm worried about what time they might show up, sort of a thing. And this is where that went. So I know it's safe there. But most people, most collectors do not utilize that kind of a service. Porch pirates are a thing. We've heard horror stories of boxes, like from Big Bad through FedEx and different stuff. Branded boxes are not forward thinking, in my opinion. I don't want to ding them on anything if I can help it, but I will say, if you had gotten a really thin outer box that was nondescript to send, that might go a bit further. I know that might up your shipping costs or just lose the graphics altogether. That's a suggestion, because I think that the market has shown that branded boxes aren't really a good thing for you, in my opinion. It's my opinion. But the fact is, this exists, and I do love it aesthetically. It's going to be hard to toss this. I'll probably keep it, to be honest. As I said, I've already opened the thing, so you're not getting an unboxing per se. But I'm going to rip this open and show you what I got. The packaging in here was very nice. I didn't feel like there was anything wrong with the way it was done. There was care and attention paid to it, but the box isn't full of unnecessary material. So that's a big plus. It keeps their costs down. I'm not inheriting their costs if I'd paid for this through them or whatever. It's a really nice touch. So when you're shipping direct, these are things you got to think about. Now, I don't know how much direct sales are going to be doing beyond the Kickstarter campaigns, but as these Kickstarter campaigns continue to go out, it's a nice thing to know from them. I know I kind of came down on the box a little bit, but when it's being sent to a Big Bad or something like this in large bulk orders, things like that, obviously it's going to make a lot more sense for them. But at the end of the day, I think the shipping aspect was really good. Everything arrived in great shape, so big ups to their service on that. Also, with it came this really cool letter that said, you know, thanks for taking a look. It's obviously a bit of a form letter to give you some background on the figures for those that don't know. There's a ton of stuff in here, but one of the things I like the best is that it tells you, you know, the whole crew, everyone from, you know, Rob to the sculptors and designers, the painters, the artists and writers, you know, everything on the staff here, and it just gives a lot of great information for those that may not know. It's very, very cool. So, gonna keep that with all my paperwork. Now, on to the actual packaging of the actual figure. Bam! Look at this. This is so nice. It's got a, you know, very, I wouldn't say basic, but starkly, this is what it is back in the box. There's no cross-sell or anything, but it has this little inscription, which I'll read to you. It says, "Now I'll tell you the secret of the world, child. This one, anyway. It's an engine. No one knows who built it, but it moves things. It moves people from where and when they belong to here. Even the oldest people, the longest stretching generations, they were brought here once, to melt, to be forged, or else perish. It's a savage world of a million stories. We call it the Crucible." Hell of a cool introduction into the lore of the line. At the top, you get what this is. This is Vilimir, so he's a marquee character, which is cool. I was assuming I was going to get a filler character, but look at this guy. Really, really cool. It's got a bunch of, I can't read you all this, but there's a ton of lore in here. There's like 3 full paragraphs of lore here. It's appreciated. I love the Velcro front. It begs to be, you know, stored like this. I love that you could hold them like a library. So you inbox collectors, you could have a library display, a lot similar to Classified or a lot of other different toy lines that take advantage of that sort of thing. But I'm going to pull this out so I can get a really good look at the figure himself. Once I find my box cutter, that is. So the bottom of the box has these all 4 leaves here, which makes it really easy to rebox. And now that the figure is out, you can see this cool stuff inside. There's a map of Lemuria on all these, you know, has a lot of Tolkien vibes to it, which is not a bad thing and something you could easily make like a framed picture out of if you wanted to mutilate the box. I don't know if I will or not. Now that he's out, that is some insane detail on this figure, right? You're getting some great stuff for your money out of this in terms of detail. There's only, it looks like 1 little restraint right here across the waist, and that's easy enough to clip open. But everything is molded in here, making it really easy to repackage if that's something you want to do. So big ups to them on that. Good to have the security so that it doesn't shift during shipping, but once it's in my house, I want to have flexibility with display. And in higher end figures like this, that's really a big plus. So let's go ahead and get him out of there and see what the deal is. Holy cow, this just flew straight out of the packaging when I started to push on it, which shows how rigid this interior tray is, and again, helpful for that repackaging. It was difficult to get him out without it being a huge pain in the butt, which again, repackaging value is huge on this, which also means that the figure retains value to someone who's getting it after the fact. But out of the box, he is posing with not a lot of force. I don't feel like anything's breaking. The tail, I just naturally went to the tail to see if I could adjust it, and you can. It is very cool. I don't know how much adjustment is intended at the base of the tail here. Looks like just twisting a little bit. But it is very much appreciated, and all the armor pieces go with it, and they are sharp in a good way. This is great. You don't have nearly enough figures with tails. And look at the foot articulation on this son of a bitch. Like, you can bend that foot all the way up if you have to. Like, it makes a lot of sense. Looks like you can do all kinds of poses with this guy. So I found a first place where the joint is a little bit stiff. It's in the upper joint at the bottom of the thigh, the top of the knee. A little bit of heat, I'm sure it's going to be just fine. On the other leg, appears to have the same problem. So I don't know if that's a manufacturing thing or if I'm trying to get this to do something it's really not meant to do. I would have a guess that it's really just your typical, hey, you got to heat stuff up. His arms have a nice wingspan. I'm sorry that I'm not showing this when I'm first messing with him, but he's just so much fun to pose and play with so far. Very cool stuff. It would appear that these arms, okay, they've really hidden the joints, making it very difficult for me to figure out what the arms can and can't do. So this bendy joint here is totally hidden. Like, I cannot see where the bend comes in. Like, there's no seams on this arm at all, except for where the forearm meets the bicep. And you can see a little bit of the strip in that wingspan right there, okay? But now that I have it figured out, it's pretty awesome. The armor gets in the way a little bit, but then real armor would do the same thing. I love that this front piece on his cod piece is very flexible. So you have that ability and, well, flexibility to do something really dynamic with it. Missed opportunity, or maybe I'm just not doing it right. The foot rocking is not really there. I don't know if it's a heat thing again or what. I'm trying to get it to do some things that maybe it's not designed to do. And he's got some jaw articulation here that, again, probably needs a bit of heat to go as far as it can, because it wants to stay shut, but it has the potential to go pretty far. But how often do you really see... There we go. Got it open there. Look at that. That's beautiful. The detail on this is just insane. Like, you can get some really dynamic poses out of this guy. And just under my basic light here, it's just breathtaking. Let me see if I can get him to stand in this pose. I cannot, because I put him in a really awkward, weight-heavy pose. I can't really get him to stand in a more dynamic pose than just straight up and down. But he's got foot pegs ready to go, which is awesome. And with characters this poseable, there's a function and form aspect to this, where you want to be able to stand your figure up, but you don't want that to be the only pose feature you can do. So I got him to stand up in this position with his feet slightly apart. It still looks very cool. But again, with the peg holes and possibilities of other stands, you know, there's a lot more possibilities when you add in that kind of hardware. And that's one place I'd like to see them, even at the competitive price point they are, I would love to see the inclusion of some kind of pegged figure stand. I realize it's a challenge at this stage of the game. I realize it's something that, you know, you're already keeping this incredible detail at a reasonably accessible cost. You know, I understand that adding a stand could add unnecessary cost per se, but as a collector, I want to have as many options out of the package as possible for display, and that is a relatively low-cost way of enabling that. But you simply cannot match the level of detail on this, all this sculpt work, the scale work. When I was shown the concepts of some of these characters and different factions, and I saw, like, these look great as digital images, but I don't know how it's going to translate into a physical figure, especially mass-produced and not like some kind of a paint demo or something. It's really well done, and for, again, mass-produced and not just a singular figure, I don't know that this is matched. I've seen Mythic Legions. They're impressive, but I'm not impressed enough to go out and buy them. You know, this is basically an anthropomorphic Godzilla with battle armor on, with all the articulation you could possibly want. It's an extremely nice piece. This is something that if I had a more, I've got a very large Motu Origins collection, right? I don't need more swords and sorcery stuff. But for the person who said, like, I remember Motu, I don't like it, has missed the boat on Mythic Legions, or just doesn't like their style, this is going to be something that you really want to look into. Even Masterverse Motu collectors are going to want to look into this. These are going to scale perfectly with these and really add some oomph to the collection. I'm going to look at his profile again with the jaw. I mean, look at how much detail is there. So we all knew from the get-go, this was not something that I was going to be buying en masse. There's just not a space in the collection for it right now. But to have this one and have it be lizard themed and go right alongside of Godzilla figures and other lizard stuff that I like, and to be commemorative of not just their success, but also the first time that they did an interview on YouTube was with moi. I mean, it's something cool. It speaks to a memory that only Rob and I have. And no one can take that away. No one can change the fact that's an amazing piece of artwork that in figure form. Do I have my criticisms of it? Sure. Do I have the same criticisms of almost any modern toy in this room? Yep. Many of the same criticisms I would levy against them. Not including a figure stand, joints being a little bit somewhat frozen out of the box. However, those are industry standards, so that doesn't make them lesser than anyone else. And relative to their price point, I think they're doing incredible things with detail, getting value for your money of the figure itself. It's really hard to beat, and as it's just coming out, again, if you like swords and sorcery kind of stuff, if you want to be in on the ground floor of some new lore and a new IP, this is a very good one to start off with. And you'll be able to get as much as you like, and they've got different repaints and armor packs and weapon packs and factions, and they have plans to go big with this. Not that I see a direct comparison, but it's not dissimilar from what Valiverse has going on with Action Force, in that they're looking at this property as an entire property. They're not doing anything as an afterthought to sell toys. They're looking at this as a piece of storytelling that itself has a toy line, and then the two kind of remain interchanged. Savage Crucible and Valiverse definitely have something similar going on in that regard, and that's not a bad thing. And speaking of Action Force, this would look good with those lines. So if you wanted to take some fantasy figures and mix them in with military, like, that opens up some jaw-dropping ideas in my head for display and so forth. I wish these guys nothing but success in the future. This is proof positive that, perseverance pays off, right? I said early in the whole thing, I said, look, I'm going to be hard on you because I've seen this stuff go down. As long as you can deliver what you're saying you can deliver, you're going to be golden. And the only thing that they did not deliver on initially was the time frame they promised, which was really aggressive. So a 2-year turnaround on something like this is not bad at all in the grand scheme of things, and I hope that we see a continued acceleration with this. We've seen this before with many other figure lines in the last couple of years, but they're getting out there. Backers are getting it, the stores are getting it. If this even remotely intrigues you, buy a figure, buy a troop builder. Take a look at just how awesome these things look in person, okay? And I'm telling you, you're going to fall in love. And unless you're a dummy like me and has overfilled your space, you're going to take at least one of these home. I'm telling you right now. To Rob and the team, thank you for sending him along. I love him. I'm going to find his place for him. And when I look at him, I'm always going to think of you guys and all of your hard work, and you deserve all the success in the world. For everyone else, I hope all your card backs are straight. I hope all your grinds are merry, and you're able to find anything you're looking for at any given time at a price you feel is reasonable, especially if it's Savage Crucible. Take care, guys. Cheers. Extra special thanks to all of our Patreon and YouTube members. The support really helps, and you get to be a part of the live show every week.